Okay, so this is kind of a continuation from the last video. I get limited to 15 minutes for the videos, so this video shouldn't be that long. Sorry, don't worry. But I did want to make a comment on this. So again, if you've got, you're trying to find a solution for two equations, you can enter in the equations, like we said, and then where they cross is going to be the solution. If they don't cross, if they're parallel, then there's no solutions. If they're the same line and they're like overlapping, it's going to be infinite solutions. Okay, but let's say you have a tough time seeing it or figuring out where it is. Remember, you can always zoom like that a little bit, okay, and then use your fingers to one finger to move it over, and then if you click where they cross, you'll see the solution. Okay, so again, that would be the solution for those two equations, which was I guess A in this case. Same thing for this and this. Same thing over here. We touched on those. The next thing that I wanted to talk about is what happens if you get graphs, okay? Well, the way I taught it before, if you don't have technology, is you can plug in values from the graph. Like, for example, this one has a point at 2, 4, which means x is 2 and y is 4. So I could plug in a 2 for the x and see if y was equal to 4. And if it was, then that would mean that could be okay. If it wasn't, then I could eliminate it. And then you basically, it's process of elimination. But let's talk about how you can graph a quadratic equation and very easily see what the correct equation is. So let me go back to my calculator, make it smaller. Okay, so now I'm going to get out of this, and I'm just going to type it in like I showed you before, y equals x squared plus 8x plus 12, okay? So I just did it, and then I'm going to go over here, and I'm going to look at this one. I probably need to move it over this way a little bit more. And what I see is that, and I probably need to, here that's already at negative 50. I'm going to make this one a little bit wider, okay? Oops, so let me zoom in a little bit. And then with one finger, I move up or down, and then I'm going to make it a little bit wider, stretch it. Why? Because first of all, I can see a few things. Number one, it goes through the y-axis at 0, 12. It goes here at negative 2, 0. So I see 3 points. It's kind of on the left side of the y-axis. It goes down a little bit. So definitely not A, right? Because this is the x-axis and this is above. So then I go to this one. It's on the right side. Nope. This one, is that right? Oh, it doesn't look like it, but it is. You know why? Because this one is stretched out more. I can check it right here. I can see this is negative 4 right there, right? Get out of here, message. But if I go into this one, obviously it's not D because D is above the x-axis, right? So the only one that is below the x-axis and to the left of the y-axis is C. See how easy that is? So you just plug in the equation and then you eliminate choices. And then if there's two that are kind of close, then you can start checking the very specific points by clicking. And it always will tell you where it goes through the y-axis. It'll give you a little gray dot, 0, 12, and the x-axis. It'll tell you that. And it'll tell you where the vertex is, the bottom or the top of it, right? All right, so see how easy it is? So go ahead and let's try one more together, and then let's try question number 21. How about that? So try 21, see if you can pick it, and then I'll show you what I get. Okay, so I entered this in right here, and I see it's to the left of the y-axis, it's above the x-axis, and it goes through at negative 3, 3 is the vertex. So I'm looking to the left of the y-axis above. So maybe A. No, not B, because that's to the right of the y-axis. Is it C? That goes below the x-axis, and this doesn't, so it's not C. And this one's to the right. So just like that, super duper easy. That one is A. You should be getting that, okay? So that's how you do those. There's just one more thing that I want to talk about. Again, hopefully you get this, if you get to use Desmos, it's very easy to enter equations and find the solution. Same with the graphs. But let's just say you get a question. Not every, it's going to be a computerized test. So not every question you're going to see the Desmos calculator. And I think you get to use a graphing calculator, but maybe not. Maybe they make you use an online one. It depends. Things have been changing over the years. But I'm going to pretend for a moment that you can use a graphing calculator and show you how to do some of the same things on a graphing calculator, okay? So let's talk first about how do we solve a problem like like say number 3, we don't have any answer choices and we can't use Desmos. Let's pretend. How do we use a graphing calculator to solve it? Okay, so I'm going to show you the steps. You might have to practice it a little bit, but I'm going to get my calculator out and I'm going to go ahead and first of all clear it. Okay, and I'm going to go to something that's called mode. Is it mode? No, sorry, my bad. It's math. And then I'm going to scroll down until I see something that says solver. Oh, okay. Well, I'm going to have to show you guys in class because this online version doesn't show up. But basically, you can enter in an equation, and it'll actually tell you one of the answers for it. So I'll have to do that in class, okay? So I'll do that. But we should be able to graph it. So let me go ahead and get out of this. What are we doing here? Hit exit. So I got to go second, quit. Should clear. Okay, there we go. Now, I'm going to graph something. So let me pick one of those quadratic equations because you guys were doing that the other day for your, okay, let's pick this quadratic equation right there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go, first of all, okay, so I'm going to click y equals, okay. Now, here you got to solve for the y. The y in this case would basically, you'd make it equal to 0, okay. So what you're going to do is if you've got a quadratic equation, you got to take the constant and you got to put everything on one side so that you end up getting 0. So that -3, you'd have to add to both sides, right, to get rid of the -3. And if you added 3 to both sides, this would turn into a 10, okay? So I hope you're listening. So now that's why I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to enter in a 10. I'm just going to leave the x squared there. So for instead of p squared, it's going to be x squared and then minus 7x. And then remember, I added 3 to both sides, so that's going to be plus 10. Okay, now what do you notice? This is Desmos. Well, you know what? I'm sorry. I should have entered it into the calculator. I'm going to in just a second. But what I can see is the zeros are going to be your answer. So 2 and 5. So we should know that those are your answers if you've got Desmos. But how do we do it on the calculator? Sorry, I'm going to show you one more time. Okay, so I'm going to go to, you got to use these for the variables, these right here. So x squared, and then minus 7p minus 7. I'm going to use x. You got to use x for every one, x. And remember, I added 3 to both sides, so it's going to be plus 10, enter. Okay, and then I'm going to hit graph, just like we do in Desmos, but it's going to graph it. And check it out. I see the values right there. So what that tells me is where those values are equal to 0, those would be the solutions. If I look carefully, it's going to be 2, it crosses at 2, and it crosses at 5, which was the answer, D, right? And so you can zoom in and zoom out by using this thing if you need to, but basically that's what you do. Now, what happens if we have a graphing question and we have a graphing calculator, but we don't have Desmos? It would be the same thing, right? Just like on Desmos, I showed you how to look at a graph and then decide which one's correct. This equation I entered in doesn't match over here, but basically I could look at this and I could say I'm looking for one that's on the right side of the x-axis and dips a little bit below the x-axis, and I could go through process of elimination and do that. So 2 things you can use. You can use Desmos to put in equations and graph it or get the solution. You can use this one to do it. And in class, I'm going to show you how to put in an equation using the math mode for the solver, but this calculator doesn't let me use it. And different technology you can use to do these equations and graphs really quickly. But again, I'm going to say this one more time. You're not always going to be able to use it for every question. So it's good to know how to do it the regular way with algebra or by plugging in numbers into equations to check graphs. And in future math courses, you may not get to use the technology also. So I'm not saying forget everything you've learned. I'm just saying that if you have the ability to use technology, use it, because everybody else will be using it that knows how to use it just like you. So you should have the same advantage. Okay? So there's the assignment. So please make sure to do that. It should be a very quick, easy assignment if you use technology and shortcuts. And then we're going to have a quiz on it in the next class, one of the next classes.